And as Catherine Stewart writes in today's Republican Party, the path to power is to build up a lie in order to overturn democracy. Build up a lie in order to overturn democracy. Now, this is a two-forked situation. Let me digress from Ms. Stewart. The lie is political nationalism, this America First, this MAGA bullshit, and Christian insanity. It's a two-pronged effort to destroy democracy. And at least that's what Josh Hawley was telling us when he offered that clenched fist salute to the pro-Trump terrorists before that mob ransacked the Capitol. And as Stewart points out here, it is the same message he delivered on the floor of the Senate in the aftermath of that attack. This is critical for people to understand what Ted Cruz and Josh Hawley did after this mob of ravenous, goddamn, murderous son of a bitches who left 5 dead in their wake after their attack. Hawley and Cruz kept it up. That's when Hawley doubled down on the lies about electoral fraud that incited this murderous mob in the first place. So Catherine writes, how do we get to the point where one of the bright young stars of the Republican Party appears to be at war with both truth and democracy? Well, he's a Christian. He is a fundamentalist Christian. Catherine Stewart writes, Hawley himself, as it happens, has been making the answer for some time. It's just a matter of listening to what he has been saying. And that's kind of the point that I have made so many times. If you listen beyond the bullshit of what these religious nutfucks are saying, these Christians, listen to what the words are really saying, it should send fear just riveting through your body until you can get control again and realize that the main objective for people who believe in democracy is to totally ignore, preferably to destroy, but that'll never happen, totally ignore this Christian horseshit. Not to do so puts us at our own peril. I want you to understand that, but let me go on. Catherine Stewart writes, in multiple speeches, an interview, and a widely shared article for Christianity Today, the journal, Mr. Hawley has explained that the blame for all of our ills traces all the way back to Pelagius. Pelagius, 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 who is a British-born monk who lived 1,700 years ago. In a 2019 commencement address at King's College, small conservative Christian college devoted to what they say is a, quote, biblical worldview, end quote, which is horseshit. What it should say, it's devoted to a Christian cult worldview. But in that address, Josh Hawley denounced Pelagius for teaching that human beings have the freedom to choose how they live their lives and that grace comes to those who do good things. Hawley believes grace comes to those who believe the right doctrines. The most eloquent summary of the Pelagian vision, Mr. Hawley went on to say, can be found in the Supreme Court's 1992 opinion in Planned Parenthood versus Casey. Mr. Hawley specifically cited Justice Anthony Kennedy's words reprovingly. Kennedy wrote this, quote, at the heart of liberty is the right to define one's own concept of existence, of meaning, of the universe, and of the mystery of human life. End quote. Now let me digress. Josh Hawley was blasting that opinion by Justice Kennedy. The 5th century church fathers were right to condemn this terrifying variety of heresy, Mr. Hawley argued. Quote, replacing it and repairing the harm it has caused is one of the challenges of our day, end quote. Do you understand that? Do you understand what this skinny, white-faced prick is saying? In other words, Hawley's idea of freedom is the freedom to confront or to conform to what he and his preferred religious authorities know to be right. It's up to Hawley, in other words, to determine what you are going to believe, what you are going to follow, what you are going to worship, how you are going to throw over the life of an independent mind and spirit and replace it with this robotic Christian horseshit that Josh Hawley is spewing. Stewart goes on, Mr. Hawley is not shy about making the point explicit. In a 2017 speech to the American Renewal Project, he declared, and in this declaration he was paraphrasing the Dutch Reformed theologian and one-time Prime Minister Abraham Kuyper, quote, there is not one square inch of all creation over which Jesus Christ is not Lord. End quote. Now think about that horse shit for a minute, truth seeker. Not one square inch of all creation over which this perverted, sickening interpretation of Jesus of Nazareth is not Lord. That means every square inch of your body, too. Do you understand that? And your mind. Abraham Kuyper is perhaps best known for his claim that Christianity has sole, legitimate authority over every aspect of human life. Hawley said at the time, according to Catherine Stewart, this, quote, we are called to take that message into every sphere of life that we touch, including the political realm. That is our charge, to take the lordship of Christ, that message, into the public realm and to seek the obedience of the nations, of our nation, end quote. Can you fucking believe this? You better believe it. This is what people who believe in democracy are up against. And I'm sure I don't have to say, let me be clear, but let me be clear. Democracy and this this cult of Christianity, which has nothing to do with Jesus of Nazareth. Let's get that straight again. But democracy and this brand of fucked up Christianity cannot, under any circumstances, coexist. It cannot be done. There is a death struggle here that has been going on for, I guess, for 18 centuries. But in this country, this has been going on in a vicious form. The most recent obvious aspect of it was the attack on the Capitol last Wednesday. This has been going on as this Christian fascism is determined, absolutely, to destroy once and forever the idea, of democracy, to destroy it forever. That is what is happening here. That's what Christian fascism is about. Remember what Hawley said. This is our charge, to take the lordship of Christ. What? That message into the public realm, that means politics, and to seek the obedience of all people. Catherine Stewart goes on, Mr. Hawley has built his political career among people who believe that Sharia law, the Islamic form, is just around the corner, even as they attempt to secure privilege for their preferred religious groups to discriminate against those of whom they disapprove. Now, let me digress again. As usual, I feel that in this case, Catherine Stewart's words are a little bit too milquetoasty for me. It's not preferred religious groups to discriminate against those of whom they disapprove. Disapprove? They will fucking burn you at the stake. They will send you into gas chambers, these Christian nationalists, these Christian fascists. They will destroy your country with microbes. They will burn your culture to the ground. They will desecrate your belief system. They will hang you. They will dismember you. You think I'm being too, what's the word I'm looking for? Too filled with my own crazed images? Are you kidding me? Again, look at history. Just do it. Look at the history of this crazed, filthy, violent blood cult called Christianity. This is destroying democracy, and it doesn't make any difference what the country is. But right now, we're focused on our country that is going to burn down if we don't bring this to a stop. Back to Hawley. As Catherine Stewart points out, before he won election as a senator, he worked for Beckett, a legal advocacy group that coordinates with the right-wing legal juggernaut, the Alliance Defending Freedom, which has nothing to do with freedom and everything to do with religious violence, Christian violence. Cut their fucking heads off is the attitude of the Alliance Defending Freedom. You know what their freedom is? They want the freedom to tell you your ass will die unless you believe what they believe. That's their concept of freedom. Hawley also is a very familiar presence on the Christian blood cult violence media circuit. Stewart goes on, the American Renewal Project, which hosted the event where Mr. Hawley delivered the speech I mentioned earlier, was founded by David Lane, a political organizer who has long worked behind the scenes to connect conservative pastors and Christian nationalist figures with politicians. Now, what that means is to connect terrorists who work in a pulpit, thousands of pulpits every Sunday, convincing people that unless you believe this way, you are fucking doomed. You will be doomed here because eventually we will come and torture you and kill you, and you will be doomed when you die because we believe in eternal pain. What the fuck kind of a psychotic point of view is that? According to this David Lane, the choice America faces is to be faithful, I'm quoting, to be faithful to Jesus or to be faithful to pagan secularism. You rotten son of a bitch, David Lane and Josh Hawley and Ted Cruz, and you filthy monsters. How dare you? Hi, Truth Seekers. Mike Malloy here. As you know, we've switched formats and are now broadcast exclusively on the Progressive Voices Network. So that means you get fewer program interruptions, no corporate commercials, and lots of profanity. But our format change also means some of our radio listeners no longer hear the program. It's been a while since I mentioned our podcasts, so you may have forgotten that there is a way to listen to this program anytime you need a good dose of screaming. Visit MikeMalloy.com and subscribe to our podcast. As a podcast subscriber, you can download the program to your mobile device and take me with you wherever you go. And if you have a friend who needs a dose of truth-seeking, You can give a gift subscription as well. That's MikeMalloy.com, and never miss a minute of the uncensored fun and frivolity.